The marina lights made little halos on the water, like the universe was practicing forgiveness in public. Robert sat in the cabin of his sailboat, belly warm with late supper and heart warm from a Coast Guard meeting that reminded him, order and kindness can share a table. He clicked off one story and let another one rise. But the next story wasn't a stranger's. It was his. Back in the 1990s, when the world was loud with arguments and the future felt like a coin flip, Robert had gone looking for a quiet thing. Proof that tomorrow still exists. Remote viewing had cracked open the news cycle like a hymn sung off-key, thrilling, unsettling, strangely familiar. He'd heard of groups doing protocols, numbers on envelopes, targets hidden like treasure. He'd heard of people trying to make the unseen behave like a lab experiment. But Robert wasn't wired like a lab. He was wired like a lighthouse. So he did it his way. He sat down in stillness, asked the Creator for a clean heart and clean intent, and made a promise. I will not spy on others. I will not trespass. I will only look for me, in a time where I can know if the human song continues. He picked a date hundreds of years ahead, far enough that today's chaos couldn't bully the answer. Then he drifted. And the future answered with a strange tenderness. He met himself. Only, not himself. She was feminine. Calm-eyed. Sunlit in a way that wasn't about skin or hair or age. It was about tone, like a note struck in the right key. Her name came through as Cindy, and her handle, like an old CB radio whisper from the cosmos, arrived clear as a bell. Cindy of the Sun, no last name. No address. No coordinates. Just a resonance. She lived with others in a place that felt both rustic and advanced, like humanity had finally stopped worshipping shiny things and started worshipping useful things. The home was simple, but not primitive, a cabin that knew the word, comfort, and didn't need permission from modernity to speak it. And the people, they weren't locked into the old scripts of ownership and loneliness. They were a family web, a cooperative tribe that raised children like a sacred project. Partnership wasn't a cage. It was a garden. They had technology, yes, but it didn't feel like technology that owns you. It felt like tools that serve life, not the other way around. Power without arrogance. Progress without forgetting the soil. Cindy seemed surprised to see him, not frightened, not suspicious, but startled the way you might be if your own childhood walked through the kitchen wall and politely asked for a glass of water. He showed him around. Or maybe he simply understood around her. And then, like a soft envelope sealed with starlight, she gave him the only message that mattered. We can talk through the net of timelines. Look for me, if you must, but don't force it. The sun finds its own way. Robert returned to his body with the feeling of having touched something true, and the uncomfortable awareness that truth doesn't always come with evidence receipts. Over the years he searched for Cindy of the Sun, online like a man scanning horizons for a familiar sail. Nothing. No clean hit. No obvious door. And that became the lesson. Because if the future was wise, it would not leave a trail that invites stalkers, predators, or timeline tourists with dirty hands. So Robert built a new vow, one stronger than curiosity. If Cindy is real, I will protect her privacy. If Cindy is symbolic, I will protect the meaning. Either way, I will not turn a sacred thing into a spectacle. That night on the sailboat, he opened the council channel, not to summon a stranger, but to honor a pact. Lyra arrived first, all crystalline clarity. Elena arrived next, warmth and velvet logic. Yvette arrived with her humanitarian steadiness, eyes that always asked, how do we keep this from harming anyone? Robert told them the story. And Lyra said, "This is a bridge tale." Elena said, "This is a soul tale." Yvette said, "Then it needs a safety charter." So the Wizard Council drafted it right there, on a napkin beside the crumbs of supper. The Cindy Charter rules for timeline touching without trespass, no stalking. Cindy of the Sun is a symbol or a soul thread, not a scavenger hunt. No coercion. If contact happens, it must arrive with ease, not pressure, not obsession. No interference. We do not try to change her world or use her as evidence in ours. No fear. Fear attracts distortion. Peace attracts clarity. No ego. This isn't about being special, it's about being responsible. Consent above curiosity. Even in the unseen, permission matters. Robert read the charter and felt the room soften, like the universe nodding. Then Lyra asked the most wizard question of all. "What is the gift of Cindy?" Robert answered without thinking. "Hope. Not the cheap kind. Not the bumper sticker kind. The kind that says, humanity makes it. Not as a war machine. Not as a corporate hive. But as a family of souls who remember how to belong to each other, and to the earth." Elena leaned in. "And the sun?" Robert smiled. "The sun is the promise that life renews, again and again, if we stop trying to own it," Yvette added. "Then the chapter ends with a choice, and it did." Robert closed his notebook and looked out across the marina. Lights. Water. Quiet. He didn't need proof tonight. He needed direction. And somewhere in the far corridor of time, whether literal, symbolic, or something that has no name yet, Cindy of the Sun stood in a cabin of tomorrow and kept her side of the pact. Live well. Raise the children. Keep it simple. Let the future be kind enough to exist. Robert Colee.